Quick disclaimer to start the video. Investment is pretty hard to generalize nowadays. Each account usually needs a different plan depending on what your teams are and who you end up liking the most. I'll be making a video on how to invest in every team in the game at a later point. This video will focus entirely on great pickups for any account, or the most impactful eidolons to pull for most players. Also yes, I'm leaving Tribute E1 out since everybody already knows about it. Now, with that said, let's get into it. Let's pause and take a brief word from our sponsor, Gamesco. As Star Rail constantly releases characters better than the last, players won't have enough Jades to keep up. This is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Gamesco. This is an all-in-one marketplace for all your favorite games and services. They offer top-ups at a more affordable price than in-game, and can even activate your first top-up bonus if you haven't used it already. It's also totally safe, not requiring any of your login information, and having a money-back guarantee. All you have to do is click the bundle you want, put in your server and UID, and your top-up will appear in-game shortly after. On top of all of this, they offer top-ups for more than HSR, having offers for ZZZ, Genshin, Wuthering Waves, and so much more. You can use my link in the description or pinned comment to start saving now. Thank you to Gamesco for sponsoring, and now, let's get back to the video. Alright, so, the very first thing I want to talk about today for this video is I actually have some lightcone recommendations specifically that I feel like have a lot of overall value and can be applicable to a lot of characters that they all don't need super specific cones in most cases, so this could end up being pretty beneficial to them. The first one I want to start out with is Cypher Cone. This cone is for characters of the Nihility path, and it is very, very good. I'll flash it on screen right now, but essentially, it gives you a massive speed boost of like 18%, and it'll give you an additional debuff to apply if you get above 170 speed. This is simply an incredible light cone for just about every Nihility character at this point. Taking a look here, you can slap this onto Dahlia, you can slap this onto Fugue, you can put this on Welt, you can put this on Silverwolf, you can put this on Cypher herself, and then you can still put it on Pela and Jiao Cho. This is overall just a great cone, and it serves very well for a path that focuses a lot on debuffing. There are of course some exceptions like Acheron. Acheron is really never going to want this cone, and then there's a character like Hysilenskisser who, I mean, you could use it, I guess. I wouldn't really recommend it, but it is in fact an option. Kafka can also make use of this, but before the tutorial mission starts is definitely the preferred option in my opinion. Overall, this light cone is simply pretty universal to what Nihility debuffers want to do. It has such a powerful effect with that massive speed boost, since that's really the stat that debuffers care about the most, besides their effect hit rate. And 67 effect hit rate isn't really hard to hit at all. So now, once you've hit that, you kind of need to channel everything into speed, and this light cone will give you a massive benefit for that, while also giving you a pretty useful def down debuff. The biggest note when it comes to this specific light cone is you kind of do need characters and teams that can actually make use of it. There are also competitive options for quite a few of the characters. Like Dahlia and Fugue, they definitely want their own light cones, but if you have an E2 Fugue, then you want before the tutorial mission starts. Welt, you kind of want before the tutorial mission starts, but then if that's already on somebody else on the same team, then you can do Cypher Cone and it'll be pretty good. Jiao Cho, again, he likes his cone, he likes Black Swan Cone, this cone is okay for him, it's not bad. Silverwolf before the tutorial mission starts is great for her, especially with the amount of energy she regens. Overall, it is not quite as helpful of a cone as people always describe it as. However, I still think it punches far above its value. I think it is great for multiple options. It can be used in quite an array of situations, and as a result of that, even if you don't have Cypher, it can genuinely be a worthwhile pickup for your account. If you have and use any of those characters that I mentioned earlier, then yeah, I would recommend grabbing it. You never know when you might need it. It can help you unlock certain builds. If you just don't have another good Nihility light cone available on your account, then hey, that can be your alternative option, and it'll do very, very well for you. Moving on to the next light cone, it is going to be Sunday's light cone. This cone is unbelievably popular amongst the community, and it is pretty understandable why it is. This cone is very solid, giving energy regen, it gives damage to your ally, more damage percent boost, and it is capable of regenerating you a skill point keeping you basically SP neutral to SP positive. And that, my friends, is absolutely massive for a lot of teams and a lot of characters specifically. This cone is incredibly solid, and it can be used, once again, in quite the array of situations. Basically, every single action advancer likes having this cone. Sparkle can have it and like it, Sunday likes having it, Bronya likes having it, Ting Yun also enjoys having it because she consistently uses her skill and ultimate on other allies, so she can actually take advantage of all of its effects. There are also some Harmony characters who don't really like it quite as much. This is going to be like your Robin, your Ron May, your Saridra, Tribby. Like, they don't really like Sunday Cone quite as much. But if it's just getting used on Sunday, Sparkle, Ting Yun, and Bronya, that is still absolutely worth a pickup. This cone overall just has a lot of potential. It is super nice, super comfortable. There's really nothing to hate about it, to complain about, so if you are going to be using any of these characters consistently, I would highly recommend picking it up. It is going to be nothing but a benefit for you and your account. And moving on to the last light cone on my list, we have Hyacinth light cone. Now this one is a little bit more specific compared to the other ones. Hyacinth light cone is really mainly going to benefit the mono-rem team with Castris, Evernight, Sirene, all that. However, Hyacinth light cone has a very, very nice effect of a massive speed boost, and it can increase damage, and it'll drain HP whenever the wearer uses their skill. This can end up being incredibly beneficial for people who are running RMC with some of the other HP scalers. So we're going to be thinking about Mighty, Blade, and Jing Liu. So on top of the mono-rem team that really loves this light cone, you also have all of those other HP scalers, and the cone ends up being incredibly helpful for not just Hyacinth. This cone can serve as an amazing option for Hyacinth, RMC, and Sirene. It can benefit all of them an insane amount since all three of these characters really like speed, and then for RMC especially, he can consistently take advantage of the full benefits of the light cone, honestly. The cone overall just has an insane amount of value for all of those characters, and considering it has usability on multiple characters outside of just Hyacinth, it honestly seems like a pretty solid choice to me to pick that up, especially if you are going to be a big RMC user. Does the kind of pseudo-sig that RMC has work perfectly fine? Yes, of course, it is very, very good. However, this is just a way to kind of spruce up your gameplay a little bit more if you want. It can unlock different potentials for you, which is also pretty big. And last but not least, when you use a Memo Sprite skill, you're increasing damage taken by all enemies by like 18%. That is nothing to complain about in any way, shape, or form. This is just a very, very good cone. I like it a lot. I would recommend if you are going to be using any of those characters, this is a great pickup to get. Alright, now we got our light cone section out of the way. I'm going to move on to some more character-specific investments. We're going to talk about a few different options that I think really have potential and should be considered by most players, or if you already have them, then you might want to look into them a little bit further to see if you are getting the max value that you can out of them. Or if you want to get that higher value, then hey, this might be time to start investing in them. The first one we're going to talk about, we're just going to rip this band-aid off real quick. It is going to be E2S1 Finon. Now I know, E2S1 is a lot, I'm aware of this. However, Finon's E2 is potentially the biggest damage increase by an E2 in the entire game. I think I've seen some calcs on it, and it's either the top option or one of the top options. This is an incredible jump, and it's on a character who is already incredibly strong and unique in what he does. Finon does not have to follow the conventional rules of the game in most cases. He is the ultimate brute force. He will walk into a mode sustainless, 3 supports backing him up, he will go into his enhanced form, and he is going to beat the daylights out of whatever is in front of him. He will meteor them, he will block all of their attacks, and then unleash a counterattack and heal himself up all the way back to full. This character is simply incredible in his game design aspect, and that E2 that E2 makes him so much more devastating, it's not even funny. He is an absolute beast when he has this eidolon unlocked. It gives him his full potential, and it allows him to be great in every single mode still. If E0 S1 Phynon is falling off a bit for you, you want to get Sirene. That is going to be a great power boost for him. If you get him to E2, you will ascend to once again just destroying a lot of the content in this game. Is he gonna be as good in like King Stage? Maybe not. King Stage is always very, very specific. It can be hard to brute force some of these. But is he gonna deal with the Knight easily? Yes. Is he gonna deal with MOC easily? Yes. Is he gonna deal with Pure Fiction easily? Yes. Is he gonna deal with APOC easily? Of course, yes. This is essentially just a cheat button on the game, similar to kinda how Break works. Phynon just invalidates mechanics. You can just throw him at something and say, go get him, buddy, and he will do it, and it will work. This is one of the best bulldozers in the game, and I cannot recommend it enough. You should pull this character if you like the sound of that. And if you already have E0, you already have his best teammates, or if you're missing his best teammate, you're missing a Sirene, a Sirene, a Sparkle, E2 will make it so that you are not as reliant upon those characters, because his E2 is genuinely that powerful. It is absolutely a worthwhile investment, and it is one of the best eidolons you are going to be able to get in this entire game relative to the value that it brings. Next up is Anexa. Now, you've heard it all before. I'm not going to repeat all of the same stuff to you again. I know some of you guys get sick of it, and by some of you, I actually mean me. I talk about Anexa way too much on this channel, but I digress. Anexa is simply an amazing character. He is super malleable to the environment that you want to play him in. He can work in MOC, he can work in APOC. Surprisingly, his worst place is Pure Fiction. He is just a very solid character, and his investment path is pretty simple. You go from Anexa to Sirene to Sirene, and then at some point, learn how to do Sustainless with RMC, and you're probably going to be doing pretty good. Or, you can slot in DHPT, that's also going to be pretty effective for you. While the scaling on Anexa may not end up as good as some other characters, his personal eidolons are not amazing, and Sirene and Sirene both have good eidolons, so does DHPT, but yeah, without being able to invest into him specifically, and even with all of that good investment on your other characters, unless he gets another really designated support for him, he is going to still slowly make his way down the tier list. That doesn't really matter though. Anexa is still one of the safest investments you can make in all of Honkai Star Rail. So now, going from Anexa, we are going to move on to Sirene. Now I know, some of you are probably questioning this a little bit. Let me say, the investment with Sirene is still dependent on if you have Chrysosairs on your account. If you don't really have Chrysosairs, this is not going to be worth it in basically any scenario. The one exception I can think of off the top of my head is like Saber. If you're doing Saber, RMC, and then some other character, that's the only one I can kind of think of at this point, but hey, at least it exists. Sirene E2 is incredibly good for all of the Chrysosairs. Gives you faster access to your unique buff, gives you faster access to new ultimates. It is just overall a big benefit to what she is trying to do for all of these teams. Just in terms of the support output, it honestly can kinda outrank a lot of the more personal individualized eidolons because of how good all of Sirene's buffs are. You're speeding ahead to an additional shot on Anexa that does even more bounces. You're speeding ahead to an additional Godslayer Be God rotation on Mighty. You're speeding ahead to permanent enhanced form on Phynon. Getting to these even faster is very, very nice. And then if you're on a team that allows Sirene to actually do her damage as well, E1 buffs her damage. She has a lot to profit off of by having this E2, and it benefits her teams even more so. It is so much better for the entire team to get this E2 than just for her to get her E1 and E2. The possibilities with this mechanic are genuinely endless, and I do think it should be in consideration for you if you have any of the Chrysos heirs that really like Sirene. If you have a Mighty, you have an Anexa, or you have an Aglaya, this should be a top consideration for you. It is just that good, honestly. While I wish I could recommend it a bit more, either way, this is still very high value in my opinion, and considering where Sirene was when she initially came out, all the drama, all the noise surrounding her, it is very nice that I get to make this video and say these good things about her. That she has ended up as having one of the best investments in Star Rail that can be an asset to just about anybody with a Chrysos heir on their account. Alright, now for the end of our list today, it's gonna still be a little while because I'm going to be talking about 2 entire archetypes that are worthwhile investments. I will be talking about DOT and Break. Let's start with DOT. DOT is simply an incredible archetype to invest into if you consistently play endgame, and endgame really matters to you. Not only is it relatively cheap to enter into, and the investment levels are incredibly strong, but it is one of the few teams that will often be able to invalidate entire mechanics in both MOC and on Knight and King stages even. That is very, very impressive. Looking at the team here, we've got Hysilenskisser, Kafka, buffed Black Swan, and an insert sustain here. Let's say that you already have DHPT, you already have Ho-Ho. These are both 2 free sustains, so hey, if you have those, that is already an amazing start for your team. Then we just have these 3 characters. Kafka was just given for free a little while ago, alongside the rerun of Hysilenskisser. So if you have a Kafka from either that, or from early game, because I know a lot of people got Kafka very early on, and she was just sitting on people's accounts, now you just have to worry about Hysilenskisser or Black Swan. And guess what? If you really wanted to, you can keep Hysilenskisser on the team, and then you can switch out Black Swan for Sirene if you already have her. You have options. That's kind of crazy, no? The way DOT ends up working out, you have a bit more flexibility than you ever had before. And if you don't have any of those other options on your account, you are pulling for 3 characters and maybe 1 signature light cone. Cause Kafka uses before the tutorial mission starts, and between Black Swan and Hysilenskisser, one of them can use Eyes of the Prey, which is a very solid 4-star DOT light cone. Sustains don't really need their light cones either, in most cases, unless you're running like Hyacinth with Mono Rem. The cost is honestly pretty low. This is all without talking about the investment levels. Black Swan E1 and Hysilenskisser E1 are incredible. The damage boost that both of these eidolons give your team is absolutely fantastic, and having both of those eidolons basically guaranteed you could tear apart anything in the game for quite some time, even up to now. Those 2 eidolons are incredibly nice, and while Kafka doesn't have as good of eidolons comparatively, I feel, she still has some good ones. It is overall just an amazing team that consistently scales even higher the more you get those eidolons, because each one of them offers a genuinely substantial jump in your power level. That is not something you can say about every other team in Star Rail, but DOT, that is genuinely the truth for them, for getting Black Swan and Hysilenskisser eidolons. Even getting like a DHPT eidolon, that can still mean a lot for these characters, or getting an E1 Ho-Ho. That helps them a lot. DOT is in the best state it's ever been. It is getting consistently shilled, and even when it's not going to be consistently shilled, you can still get through things because of the way they work. You can just brute force it. That is a sign of a good team. I'm just saying, They have given us a lot with DOT. We've had a lot of opportunities to get Kafka. They've already reran Hysilenskisser. They buffed Black Swan. You have other options that don't just have to be Black Swan or Ho-Ho or DHPT in those last slots. This is a great time to still get into DOT. They are still doing their job. They are still getting shilled. They are still great. With that low entry barrier, I cannot recommend DOT enough for every player playing this game, genuinely. Please, please, please get into DOT, even just a little bit. You will get value out of it. Now, the other side of the coin, break. Break is an interesting one because your break investment will kind of vary based on the character you have. Firefly is far and away the best break character in the game right now. She got Nova Flared. The Dahlia's kit is basically built around her specifically, which is annoying to many players, but hey, that's just the reality we live in. You kind of just gotta live with it. And there are a lot of bosses that have gotten invalidated by Break's mechanics. Mecha Pom Pom was so heavily built around Elation, yet Break could still manage to beat it. The Great Septimus got ripped apart by Break. We've got Sparksicon, which actually gets obliterated, like sent to the Shadow Realm by Firefly. Like, it's not even funny. And there are more examples too, with like Boot Hill being able to deal with Lygus. There's a really popular clear on YouTube of somebody doing that, and it was really, really sick. Break overall is just an archetype that can constantly persevere because of the uniqueness of it. You are not interacting with the game in a normal way. You are simply focusing on breaking the enemy so that they don't get to move, and then tearing them apart. You can avoid crit debuffs. You can avoid energy debuffs in a lot of cases. And now you can even avoid enemies locking their toughness. These characters are very, very good right now, and are genuinely worth getting, since, in a lot of cases, you don't need a sustain for break. You can ignore Ling Sha, you can ignore Gallagher. And even then, Gallagher's free if you really need a break sustain. Or, DHPT has been very good with break as well, surprisingly. So you can throw him on that team as well. Getting the Dahlia and getting Fugue, and then getting any sort of break character to run with them, will provide you a lot of value. We get a free one in the game as well with Zhui. And then if you can get a Misha, you can get a Luca. God forbid you get one of the actual break characters like Rappa, Boot Hill, Firefly. You will start doing incredibly well. And God forbid you are able to invest in these characters. Getting an E2 Dahlia or an S1 Dahlia Cone is absolutely insane. Some of the highest damage potential you can have on these teams. E1 Fugue is another one that is great for utility. But if you are just trying to go for baseline investment, try and get your value out of minimal pulls, E0 S1 Dahlia, E0 Fugue, insert a DPS, you are probably still going to be able to succeed. That is a testament to how powerful break is. And something that powerful should be abused. You should be using that to just decimate content. Break is another one that's in a great place and is going to be in a great place for a while going forward. I would highly recommend investing in Break if you can. You, once again, are not going to regret it. And that ends my list for today. Ended up being a bit longer, but I really hope you guys appreciated all of the recommendations. I really tried to put some thought into them. And once again, they're not perfect, since with these types of videos, I'm just trying to make it as generalized as possible. Your specific account will always be different and will need different things. Keep that in mind, try and take everything with a grain of salt, and build around who you want to build around, and try and make just the right decisions or the fun decision. Thank you all so much for watching. I've got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye!